So basically, since our deployment in Syria, the doctors were deployed to the Medical University of Aleppo. The 10 doctors in different specializations, such as orthopedic, pediatric, ER doctors, neurosurgeons.
Yes.
Exactly. They were deployed to conduct surgeries for those who are in need, to conduct diagnosis for hundreds of patients, especially patients with chronic disease. And we all know how important it is for these patients to receive medical treatment in such difficult times. In addition, the civil defense search and rescue teams were deployed to the field to support their counterparts. For example, in Syria, our team was working side by side with the Russian search and rescue team and the Syrian search and rescue team to look for people who might be alive, to evacuate bodies.
The state and the people of Palestine stand by Syrian and Turkish people and indicate his willingness to support in all forms with means available. Following the Palestinian urgent intervention and response team were sent to both countries to join rescue and relief efforts in the aftermath of the tragic earthquake. And this will be our topic for today with Khaled Abu Qara, Program Officer, Palestinian International Cooperation Agency. Welcome to our episode. First, Khaled, you've been in Turkey for several days. Would you mind just to put us a scene of the scale of devastation? How was it? I mean, how is the reality on the ground?
Thank you, Iman. First of all, before answering your question, allow me to express our deepest condolences to all the families who lost loved ones in this earthquake, and we wish a speedy recovery for those who are injured and affected. Back to your question, sadly we witnessed sad scenes and images of collapsed buildings, rubble, families waiting to hear about their loved ones, gathering where the collapsed buildings are, waiting for the search and rescue teams to evacuate the bodies of their loved ones or the injured people who they are waiting for. We witnessed international rescue and search units and teams working 24/7 to find more people and to provide more information to those who are waiting. It was very sad scenes. We also witnessed many shelters with people who have lost their homes, who were evacuated because of the danger that they were facing. We witnessed tents where people are staying there after they lost their homes as well.
Yes, the scope of devastations and the death is really hard to hold in our mind. So from operational perspective, would you mind to give us an overview of the interventions rescue team, about their work in terms of achievement and assessment and how it was seen?
So the Palestinian Rapid Response and Rescue Team, which is led and supervised by the Palestinian International Cooperation Agency, the public diplomacy tool for the state of Palestine, was deployed to Syria and Turkey. We deployed a team of 43 members to Syria and a team of 30 members to Turkey.
Yes.
In both teams, they consisted of experts from the Palestinian civil defense, mainly experts in search and rescue. Also specialists and paramedics from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, in addition to doctors from the Ministry of Health and a media team from the Palestine Broadcasting Corporation.
What kind of achievement did you have there?
So basically, since our deployment in Syria, the doctors were deployed to the Medical University of Aleppo. The 10 doctors in different specializations, such as orthopedic, pediatric, ER doctors, neurosurgeons.
Yes.
Exactly. They were deployed to conduct surgeries for those who are in need, to conduct diagnosis for hundreds of patients, especially patients with chronic disease. And we all know how important it is for these patients to receive medical treatment in such difficult times. In addition, the civil defense search and rescue teams were deployed to the field to support their counterparts. For example, in Syria, our team was working side by side with the Russian search and rescue team and the Syrian search and rescue team to look for people who might be alive, to evacuate bodies. This is basically their core work. In Turkey, our search and rescue team worked side by side with the Chinese and the Turkish teams.
Interesting.
Also,
among 88 countries?
yes, indeed. In Turkey, we were told by the Turkish authorities that 88 countries sent search and rescue teams.
Yeah.
Palestine was one of these teams. In addition, the Palestinian Red Crescent Society deployed, specialists in disaster management unit and disaster management, who basically set tents
Yes.
for those who are in need, for those who lost their homes, and they
Yeah.
also sent specialists to conduct activities in psychosocial support for children and women
Amazing.
after they have lost their homes. And this is very important, the mental health of these people, the psychological health of these people is very important. And
Of
many
course.
activities were conducted, especially for kids. More than 1,000 kids have benefited from these activities in Syria, and more than 600 kids have benefited in
Interesting,
Turkey.
Khalid. I just want to tell you something. It's very important to highlight. Like, Palestine is under occupation. We have limited resources and we have emerging needs, and also Israel restrictions on movement and people. Despite all of that, Palestinians participated in the international emergency response to the earthquake in Turkey and Syria. How this was seen by the government and non-governmental level and the people there?
The Palestinian delegation in Syria and Turkey was greatly welcomed by the government, the Syrian authorities, and the Turkish authorities. And they were also welcomed by the people with appreciation and gratitude. As you said, we have many difficulties, so sending Palestinian teams to both countries in such difficult circumstances is not something easy.
Yes.
But the Palestinian spirit always wins. And this is something we are proud of. We witnessed many Turkish and Syrian people opening their arms for us because we're coming from the Holy Land. For them, there was also a symbolic meaning that we are coming from the Holy Land, Palestine.
How was that covered by media, by Turkish media, by the way?
Turkish media and Syrian media they gave great importance to both delegations and their work, and the idea that Palestine living under occupation is sending teams. They would visit the sites where we are operating. They would conduct interviews. They would document our work on the ground. They would accompany us through our mission from one site to another. And as I said, the people in general, there is appreciation, gratitude for the Palestinians. I remember on our way back from Malatya, which was one of the provinces in Turkey that was affected, on our way back in the plane, the pilot publicly thanked the Palestinian delegation in front of all the passengers.
Yes, and we also thank you. I want to talk in terms of challenges that might face the team in both Turkey and Syria.
When it comes to challenges, as you know, Palestine is still living under a legal, Israeli, brutal occupation. We have many challenges when it comes to that. First of all, we do not control our borders. There's restrictions on our movement. This limited our ability and access to transfer heavy equipment for the civil defense and the Red Crescent, and even the doctors when it comes to having your equipment, and how much important equipment is in such activities, and also the time limit because it's an emergency. In addition, we had challenges linked to the very cold weather. Like in Malatya, it was minus 10 degrees. That was also one of the challenges.
Might people ask, why did you go to Malatya, the team?
So basically, we were deployed to Malatya based on the request of AFAD. AFAD is the Turkish agency that basically manages and leads the emergency and disasters in the country.
Yes.
And after an assessment from their side, they decide which international delegations go to each province based on the needs there and based on the ongoing assessment when it comes to search and rescue on the ground.
You mentioned the word need. So my question is related to the need. How wide gap is what is needed for the people and what is the resources on the ground? From your point of view.
I believe that there is ongoing needs on the ground because this is an ongoing disaster.
Yes.
Yesterday, another earthquake hit hit that region again.
Yes.
So there is ongoing needs. Palestine took part in supporting and contributing to the efforts of the Syrian and Turkish
What about
authorities.
the Palestinian affected people there? What kind of services did you provide for them?
The Palestinians, basically in Syria, we did not differentiate between providing services to Palestinians or Syrians, because
Interesting.
all our brothers and sisters, all are one. We were deployed for a humanitarian mission. A convoy of blankets and tents was deployed to Syria to support the shelters there. We do not ask if you are Syrian, if you are Palestinian.
Yes.
What matters for us is you are human. This is a disaster, and we are there to help.
It's very remarkable what you said. So you made me highlight this. It's kind of earthquake diplomacy. It's kind of like humanitarian diplomacy. To what extent this is important to enhance tie between countries?
Enhancing relations between countries goes through different levels when it comes to a political level, economic level, social level.
Yes.
PICA, which is the Palestinian International Cooperation Agency, is a public diplomacy tool. It's a tool that builds relations between people to people. That's why humanitarian diplomacy is a duty. It's a responsibility for nations to come together. Collective international efforts are needed when there is a disaster.
Yes.
And this is why this team was deployed. And it's also important to mention that this is the 5th mission of the Palestinian Rapid Response and Rescue Team.
The last one was in Pakistan.
Yes, during the floods, and we were deployed in the tsunami in Indonesia and the earthquake in Ecuador and Dominica also.
It's interesting. So PECA was established in 2016, I think.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so let's talk about PECA in terms of its responsibilities, like in form of development and technical assistance.
Yes, as you mentioned, PICA, the Palestinian International Cooperation Agency, was established in 2016 by a presidential decree from His Excellency President Mahmoud Abbas to serve as a public diplomacy tool for Palestine to express our solidarity through development.
Interesting.
Palestinians are proud that we are well educated, well experienced. We have the experience and the know-how. It is important that we transfer this know-how to countries that are in need. And this is the main message behind establishing PICA. We have different cooperation programs to enhance and foster development in other countries, in the agricultural field, in the medical field, in the energy field, in the education field. We are proud that we have all these expertise, and PICA's role is to gather these expertise and to deploy them where and when needed.
Khaled, just out of nowhere, this question, what do you think about maybe the reconstruction phase will end in both countries? Do you think it will need more time?
I think, yes, this will need maybe months or years, depends on the ongoing assessment by the Turkish and Syrian authorities. I believe in the post-disaster phase, which is the reconstruction, there will be international need and efforts to also support both countries in those phases. And I believe that Palestine will support when needed based on the request of both authorities.
Khaled, at the end, don't you agree with me, like what you saw in earthquake devastation, the scale of devastation, it's much familiar for the Palestinian people, but not the cause of nature, but cause of Israeli forces and authorities, you know, the policy of demolitions. To what extent do you think that Palestinians felt the pain of Turkish people and the Syrian people?
It's totally true. When we saw these demolished homes, we would remember homes in Silwan, in Sheikh Jarrah, in Masafir Yatta, which are under ethnic cleansing attempts by the occupying power. For us, it is sad, but it's also a motivation to challenge the reality and to continue. And this is the Palestinian spirit that will, people from both teams working on the ground 24 hours to support the authorities there. This is the spirit we are proud of. And in this occasion, I would also like to express our appreciation and gratitude to all those volunteers, especially Palestinian refugees who are in Syria, who supported the Palestinian students, the Palestinian civil society in Syria, who supported their bigger family, because we are one. Our identity is one. Exactly, our identity in one. In Turkey, we had a couple of students who are Palestinian refugees who were born in Syrian refugee camps in Al Yarmouk, then displaced to Turkey. They came to support the delegation by translating, because they felt that we are one.
Yes.
We have one identity.
Yes, Khaled, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and have a great time from Palestine International Broadcasting. This is Iman Haridi. Thank you.